anyway, let me welcome you all to celebrate the 80th anniversary of Monumenta Nipponica. And actually, I would like to hand right away over the mic to our Chancellor of Sophia University, Professor Sutton.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and benefactors, I'm very happy to celebrate the 80 years anniversary together with you. And I'm also very proud that the eminent editor of Monumenta Nipponica, Professor Susumu Shimazono, has given me an occasion to express my wish to congratulate this important memorial symposium. Now, I'd like to look at the 80 years history of the most important academic journal of Sophia University. Monumenta Nipponica grew out of the initiative and the farsightedness of Father John Krauss, the Jesuit, a German specialist in economics who taught at the Sophia University from 1930. In 1936, Father Krauss approached his colleagues at the university with a proposal that Sophia University publish an international academic journal of Japanese studies. According to the memorandum that he wrote at that time, the journal's aim was to be strictly academic. By the way, there is an exhibition about Monumenta Nipponica and his memorial of Father Krauss in the main library, the first floor. Please look at that. The articles were to be written in Western languages, primarily German and English, by both Western and Japanese scholars, and were to be based on original research. A similar journal, Monumenta Serica, has just been launched the previous year in the 1935 to serve the field of Chinese studies. But for Japan, such a journal did not yet exist. Creating and sustaining such a journal, Krauss argued, would establish Sophia as an international center for the study of intellectual world of Asian culture. It would foster connection with scholars both in Japan and abroad, and would raise universities' standing. Krauss' colleagues agreed and wholeheartedly supported the publication of Monumenta Nipponica institutionally and financially. So finally Monumenta was given birth. The main aim of research at the first phase of Monumenta, the history, was Christian history and culture in the 16th and 17th century, which was at that time so unique. As a document of SC House Archivium said, sunt autem pauca ver vix ulla quia tractant questiones speciales culturae Japonicae et praeseritum idius seculi quod vocat Christam. The university has continued to steadily support the publication of Monumenta up to the present. The difficulties of the war years in the immediate post-war period brought an interruption in publication for 6 years from 1944, but from 1951, when Sophia as a whole was still struggling to get back on its feet, the university committed itself to resuming publication of Monumenta. We have been fortunate and honored to receive outside support as well. From its first years, Monumenta received support from Kokusai Bunka Shinkokai, which agreed to purchase and distribute 200 copies per year. Today, the Japan Foundation continues its vital and greatly appreciated contribution by purchasing 100 copies per issue. The Japan Foundation sends these copies to institutions in 41 different countries, many of which might not be able to have access to the journal otherwise. The close bond between the university and Monumenta Nipponica can also be seen in human connections. One of the journal's first collaborators, Professor Murakami Naojiro, who was a noted scholar of Japan's overseas relations in the 16th and 17th century, that is so-called Christian era of Japan, became the fourth president of Sophia University in 1946. In 1964, Father Joseph Pitao, the Jesuit, became the third editor after finishing his PhD in political science at Harvard University and returning to Japan. While taking up various other duties within the university as well, he continued as editor until 1968, when he became the university's fourth chancellor. Father Pitao later served as the seventh president of our university before being called to Rome to become president of Gregorian University there. Sophia University is proud that since its founding in 1938, Monumenta Nipponica has continued to maintain its position as one of the top-ranked academic journals in Japanese studies. As the journal entered in its ninth decade, Sophia is committed to ensuring that it will continue to carry out the mission that Krauss sent out in the first issue, to provide a platform for an exchange of ideas and presentation of recent research by scholars throughout the world, which is today controlled with the Sophia University's, it's totally harmony with the Sophia University's mission, that is, Sophia bringing the world together. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Oops, the microphone wasn't on, but I turned it on now. Well, thank you very much. I'm a woman of few words, so this is really the perfect place for me to be this afternoon. But truly, I would very heartily welcome you all this afternoon to celebrate our anniversary. And the best way to do so is, of course, in doing something academic, right? So we decided to have an event that also should reflect some of the issues and trends that we are trying to achieve with Monumenta Nipponica. But first of all, let me, of course, greet everyone here, and let me not forget, here is my little cheating note about those people that I ought to thank right away in the beginning. First of all, of course, my gratitude goes to the university, who has been supporting Monumenta now for 80 years and continues to do so also for this particular symposium and also exhibit that we display outside partially, and the rest of it is in the library. Without the help of Sophia University, we would have never gotten so far, including also many staff members of the university who helped and supported us in gathering the information necessary to put that all up. Then, of course, our director, Professor Shimasono, who unfortunately is not available today. I hope he's okay despite the typhoon up in Tottori today, but he has a very tight schedule and he was not able to come today. And also I would like to thank Mr. Mansaki, who has been very helpful with setting up most of the venue here, and with also his help within the university opening doors to us to make an event of this size possible, would otherwise not have been possible. And I would also like to acknowledge, of course, the Monumenta team, because this is not a one-person event at all. We are a very small team, but hardworking, and they work many overtime for me. And they still smile at me when they see me, so I really appreciate that. So next week, definitely, there will be time just to rest and relax. It has been very stressful for them, and Shinohara-san outside, please, yes, smile at her. When you see her, she really has been working very hard. And I also, of course, would like to thank all the participants today who came and flew in from so far away, some of you from the States, just for 2 nights to be here for the event, to celebrate it. And Narita proved to be not the easiest spot to fly into last night, so it took some of you 4 to 5 hours even just to reach your hotel. But I truly appreciate that you make the time to be here today, to engage in this discussion and also conversation about area studies, and in particular Japanese studies. And then, of course, also I would like to thank everyone here, the audience, right? Everyone who came here together, who I consider to be the community of Monumenta Nipponica. Because what does a journal do without a community? We are not self-serving at all. We try to be here a forum for the community. So whatever are your ideas and needs, we try to be here of help to bring them out. So without you, of course, the journal makes absolutely no sense. And thinking about the community is actually a key word that leads me also to today's topic of the symposium, the changing perspectives on area studies. The needs of the community of scholars and students change over time, as we know. When browsing through the issues of Monumenta, we see the many transformations and trends over the decade. Please make sure to drop by the exhibit outside and look at some of the panels. This year's 80th anniversary makes us a good opportunity to reflect on what the needs of the community will be for the future. So I'm also glad to see here people from different places in the world, and probably also different disciplines. The field of Japanese studies is multidisciplinary, embracing subjects in the humanities as well as in the social sciences. For many decades, the crossing of traditional disciplinary boundaries, like history, literature, and art history, was considered valuable for its role in providing new methods and approaches to the production of knowledge. The launch of Monumenta was the product of such vision. Of late, however, the purpose and value of area studies have come under discussion. Let me choose here only one example that illustrates that well. Ithaca, which is connected to JSTOR, recently published its report of a study conducted in 2017 and 2018. Research teams at 11 academic libraries of US institutions were asked to interview Asian studies scholars about the needs and problems they are facing. Let me mention only 2 of the results of this report. Let me quote, "Scholars perceive area studies to be an outdated concept and struggle to identify their role within this umbrella, given how broad the field is. They experience siloing along traditional disciplinary lines, which leads to lost opportunities to address the study of Asia from a more interdisciplinary and transregional perspective." So this point of isolation and sort of homelessness, not finding really a home, I think is a point that perhaps some or many of you may have experienced as well, or may have something to share here later in our conversation. The other outcome of the survey relates in particular to a journal. The outputs, audience, and impact, right? We have heard that word often. Asian studies, I'm citing here again, Asian studies scholars in the West are confronted with the challenge of balancing the publishing expectations of their home institutions with mechanisms that make their work more accessible to their peers in Asia. Differing publishing procedures and requirements for promotion at Asian universities restrict the ability of scholars in Asia and in the US to engage in collaborative or interdisciplinary research to a greater extent. Please keep in mind the survey was done at US institutions. A journal in Asian or Japanese studies is directly impacted by these institutional pushes and pulls that perhaps these journals can also identify with some remedies for that. Again, a point that we hopefully can consider together later in our discussion and conversation, because I know that some editors are also here in the room. In both results of the survey, place matters. For the field of area studies, place is the defining parameter. For Japanese studies, the place is of course Japan, but the place of the researcher matters greatly too. We deal here not only with the different academic cultures in terms of publication and promotion, but also more importantly with different concepts of Japanese studies per se, depending on where you are located, what your history is, and so forth. And we will learn about that in a moment. Monumenta, by being located here in Japan at a Japanese university, but with most readers and authors, according to our little data gathering, coming from Europe and North America, is at the intersection of at least two different concepts of Japan studies, Japanology, Japanology, or Nihon Kenkyu. Today we invited scholars who represent different institutions in and from different locations to engage in conversation about the different concepts of Japan studies and their visions for the future. So we should probably just roll back this podium and get slowly started with our roundtable. And I may also invite now those presenters of the roundtables, our wonderful directors of institutes, to come and join me, and that they may introduce themselves one after the other. So again, welcome everyone.